Today I'm joined by Victor Anfiloff. Victor has been nominated by David Jones in a previous interview. Victor has missed the Olympic Games as an athlete in beach volleyball. After that moved on to become, you were a business owner in beach volleyball. You had a beach volleyball school, right?
That's correct.
And after that you were head coach, beach volleyball women's team in the Netherlands.
Yeah, for the London Olympic cycle.
That was the London Olympics. Yeah, we speak about that later.
Yep.
Also, you became performance manager at a later point for the beach volleyball team.
Correct.
Holland.
Yeah.
Went on to become technical director of beach volleyball Australia.
Correct.
And now back in Orange, Netherlands.
Back in.
Technical director, badminton. Welcome, Victor.
Thank you, Christian. Great to be here.
Cool. So, in your life as an athlete or coach, what was your darkest moment?
Yeah, I think that every coach and athlete probably has a long list of dark moments. Sport is sometimes you have a fantastic experience, but you often have a lot of deep holes. But in the year 2000, I was trying to qualify for the Sydney Olympics, and so I played international volleyball for 4 years. The last 2 years were qualifying for the Sydney Olympics. So we played 25 events in 2 years, traveled all around the world, and actually we had a chance to be in the Olympic Games up until event number 25.
Okay.
And event number 25, which is the last event after 2 years of playing as hard as possible. We missed it by 10 points out of 1,000 points, for example. And so that was, I won't say it was a really dark moment, because actually I gave everything that I possibly could give. I couldn't give any more, so I didn't feel like I hadn't done enough. But it's a moment that I reflect on a lot. So I never actually was able to have the chance to play in the Olympics. But actually I do remember in that process of having some dark moments as an athlete where I was afraid. I was afraid to fail. I remember trying to sleep before a tournament, and I could hear my heartbeat. You know, and that's when you know that you have fear of failure. And so I remember pretty much being at the bottom of that fear, and one day I remember that I just broke. Actually, that whole fear just went away. And after that, I started to play my very best beach volleyball. So it was a story of a dark moment that turned into actually a turning point to find my very best level. And so I managed in the qualification period for at least the last year to play it beyond the level that I thought I could ever play at. So.
And the fear broke away by itself, or you deliberately worked on that?
That's a good question. I was aware of it. A coach challenged me, and that pushed me over the edge, actually, where I let go. I let go. And that coach at that time, when he did that, I did what I see a lot of athletes doing now. When a coach pushes them, that they feel uncomfortable and they start to dislike the coach. I disliked him. And after about 2 years, I realized what he'd done for me. He changed my whole life by pushing me to a place that I needed to go to. And after that, I've had a very good relationship with him for the next 18 years. He became my mentor as well. And so that's how it happened.
Yeah, okay. And what did you learn from that moment? How has it shaped your life until now?
Actually, it's another great question. This whole subject of failure, I actually changed the way I look at failure. I actually believe I had nothing to lose. I was healthy, while I was healthy, I actually had nothing to lose, and it was just a game. Before that, I thought that my results defined who I was. So if I lost the game, I thought that I was a loser. I had attached myself to my results. And when I realized that actually I myself as an individual was so much more valuable than just playing volleyball, being a volleyball player. It gave me this sense of freedom to do things, and that happened also after the Sydney Olympics when I started a business. I didn't have that fear of failure anymore, and that propagates through your whole life, actually. To be honest, and that's something that I try to bring across now to athletes too. Is that what do you really have to lose on the court? A match. When you can let go of that fear of failure, that's when the athletes really start to be able to play freely and they can reach their highest level, and that is a beautiful feeling.
Cool.
So,
interesting. What was your best moment?
Best moment, I think, would have come as there's two moments. When I read this question, it just jumped out to me directly. Was when I became the bonds coach of the beach volleyball team Nederland for the women. There's a continental process where you in Europe you can win one spot, and we ended up getting to the last phase of this, and it was in Russia. And this was my first time as a bonds coach for a national team. And I remember we had to make some difficult decisions in the tournament about how we would play it, and we took some very large risks actually. That's coupled with that fear of failure thing. So I didn't have that fear of failure anymore. So as a coach, it enabled me to empower the athletes to also have that at a moment in time where it was critical. This was it. This was, if we win, we are in the Olympics. If we don't, we're not in the Olympics. And so we got the team together, we discussed how we were going to do it. Everyone acknowledged there were risks. We took the risks, and then we won a spot in the Olympics. We already had one spot, but we won a second spot. And so it was glorious because it was a difficult decision. And the girls then too, I distinctly remember there was one team that knew they could not get to the Olympics. They didn't have enough world ranking points, but the continental system, you need two teams. So the second team went to this tournament and said, well, we're going to play our asses off to try to get a spot for our country, knowing that the other team would go to the Olympics and they wouldn't. And they went out there and they battled against a team that was better than them, and they won. I'm getting goosebumps talking about it.
Nice. That's cool.
Yeah, and actually that happened again in 2016. It was almost the same. Seeing an individual performance from one athlete who had the courage in one moment to play in a way that was free, and that was a player who actually had quite a large fear of failure for many years. And in this one moment, after 8 years, I've been working with her, getting her to this moment too, where she was able to let go of that fear and win another Olympic spot for Netherlands. Absolute highlight.
Yeah.
Amazing. So
nice.
Yep.
Okay. If you could go back in time, what advice would you give your younger you with all the knowledge you have now? And experiences, not only knowledge, it's also experiences.
Yeah, that's quite a big question. I would say spend more time listening, really listening. And the second one is to not be afraid to show vulnerability. I think that's in leadership, that's an underestimated quality. Mostly leaders want to assume a position of strength, but actually what I've learned is that there's a lot of strength in being able to show your people that you're also human. So
Okay.
It took me a long time to get there, but I'm there. So
yeah, listening is powerful. I think also that's from Stephen Covey. One of the things he says in his 7 habits is listen with the intent to understand, not with the intent to answer. Yeah.
that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So, and I'm still practicing that. So
I guess it's an ongoing process. It'll never be perfect.
it starts with awareness. So
Yeah. Cool. As a coach, what is your coaching philosophy?
I have quite a list of coaching philosophies, but I will say that one of the things that's on top of that list is that better people make better athletes. And that's something that I learnt the hard way when I was only focused on the athletic performance and not focused on the whole person. Mm-hmm. Knowing that if everything is okay with the whole person, if the qualities that the athlete needs to perform, the person needs, okay, and they're not independent of each other. So if we're talking about having a resilient, we want an athlete that's resilient, but that means that the person themselves has to be a resilient person, okay, and that resilience makes that person also stronger in their life. So I now look and ask questions about the person, not just about the sport itself. And that sometimes often starts with, how are you? How's it going?
Yeah.
I didn't ask that question probably for the first 6 years of my coaching career. So the other thing is, I would say that there's nothing more powerful in trying to find the highest level of a player is a player that believes they can. Yeah, and so my role as a coach is actually selling that belief to them as well.
Yeah.
If they believe that I believe, then we're going in the right direction. So people ask me what I do. I don't coach. Yeah, I sell belief.
And now the big question: how do you do that?
Yeah, and you're asking some very good questions. How do you do it? And when I'm having a discussion with an athlete, I'm not judging the person. As I start to judge the person that they're not good enough, then they think I don't believe in them. Yeah, I have to get the trust. I have to be able to get to a point where I can push them, so they trust me that I can push them without in a safe way. I have to mean what I say. I show my emotions to the player. If they lose, then I feel the pain as well. So it's about forming the relationship and the trust. Okay, that's the foundation of selling belief, is what I'm saying. And I think that I do see often good coaches. They do everything on paper. They have the nice plans and they have good technical vision. They have all of these things. But they're not able to sell their message to the players. And I can't honestly sit here and tell you how to do that.
No.
It's a quality that distinguishes good coaches from great coaches, I think. And that's why it's difficult to find great coaches. Everyone's looking for that, because I think that is a quality of a talented coach.
I've seen on your profile, and I might be paraphrasing, but extracting the maximum from our resources and capabilities to achieve our goals is my definition of performance. How do you extract the maximum out of a person or an athlete? We partly answered that in the previous question, but I would like to dig deeper into that. So how do you extract the maximum out of someone?
Again, so firstly, you're right. So firstly, if I believe I can, then I can. Or at least if I believe I can, I'm going to be behaving and acting in a way going towards my goal. But the question is, my definition of performance, actually, extracting the most out of who we are, is understanding that we're here to become as good as we can become. As good as I can become. It's different to being better than you. What does it mean for me to become as good as I can become? And then for my players to have the same philosophy. It means that it's a daily process of, can I do something today that will make me 2 or 3% better? Extracting that from the players and the staff is going on to your next question, but it's about our purpose. So what is our purpose? If our purpose is becoming as good as we can become, that doesn't have any limitations. If I say I want to win a gold medal, that's already actually limiting me. My best might be winning multiple gold medals. So it's hard for me to explain it, but we don't know where the top is. And if we're aiming just to find our best, then we will find it and we will perform. So it's almost getting a bit philosophical, but
it is. That's what makes it interesting.
Yeah, that's the strijd is best self.
So interesting. And to follow up on that, I won't let you off the hook here. To follow up on that, you brought 2 teams to the Olympic Games 2012, which was a major achievement looking back at the time. I remember that. But these 2 teams you coached, they were fairly different personalities and characters. Their approach to training, approach to lifestyle. So if you have to extract the best out of everyone, it can't be a one-size-fits-all approach. So how did you do it with these teams who were kind of, I don't know whether you can say polar, but they were different?
Yeah, no, I didn't do it well. Because actually I had a one-size-fits-all approach.
Okay.
And that's where I learned that actually, one of my coaching philosophies is treat the whole person. And I think that in high-performance sport, you get a lot of different personalities. Yeah, and sometimes the most difficult players to manage are the ones with the highest talent. They're special. And so if we only have a one-size-fits-all approach, then that means that the special athletes that are difficult to manage, what happens, and it still happens, is we kick them out of the program. You don't fit. Now, we have values, and you need to make sure that the teams stick within that. We need to share those values. They need to be common. But these athletes are often a management challenge. And that means, as managers or even coaches, we need to be equipped with the tools to be able to deal with different types of people. And that's where we often fail. And that's where we lose, I think. We do lose. I'm not saying it happens always, but I still do see that if you don't fit us, you're out.
Yeah.
Instead of saying, what do we need to become to be able to get the most out of those people that don't fit in our system?
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about people that are doing crazy things to break the values of our team, but the one size fits all does not work in top sport.
Yeah.
So we need to get better at. We need to have we need to have more leadership tools, more management tools.
Yeah.
Be more flexible. And if it doesn't fit us, for example, if I'm coaching this team and it doesn't work, I need to be brave enough to say, well, maybe you should go to another coach. Instead of saying you should be out of the program.
Yeah.
That's actually me doing the best thing for us and that team.
Yeah.
But often the coach will hang on to the team.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I think that's also something I've learned a little bit later. I think the turning point for me were the Rio Olympics, where some of my athletes performed really, really well. But leading up to that, there were a few doubts about the athletes. And later you ask yourself, maybe you should change. The athlete did perform. Yeah. So you can't say that athlete is whatever. Clearly this athlete showed performance. So you need to go back to yourself and say, I should be able to support that athlete to bring out these performances, rather than say, look at these 10 guys do it like this and that one does it differently. Yeah, it's exactly what you talked about.
And the players are actually teaching us in that regard to become better ourselves.
Yeah. Interesting. What are your core values?
Core values, well, one we've already talked about, which is performance, and that performance is difficult to describe because it's not something that I learned from anyone in particular. It's just, if we're here, let's maximize what we can do. Yeah, and if we're lucky enough, we can produce that in one moment. That's how we define performance now, is that did you reach your highest level at the right moment? Okay. So performance to me is important. So even throughout the whole organization, that everyone's striving to do what they do at a high level. Okay, I tend to struggle when I see people that are underachieving, to be honest. I value ambition. So when I meet people that are ambitious, I value that, and I'm also ambitious myself. There's another one, and some people misinterpret this, but I value fun. When I say fun, I don't mean mucking around fun, but we're not here for a long time, and we need to enjoy what we do. And I believe that if you enjoy what you're doing, that's a key to performance. So it's not just I like to have fun.
I agree. No,
I do like to have fun, but I believe it also makes us more able to perform when we enjoy what we do.
Yeah.
Okay. I value team. Team to me is important. That's I guess everywhere I in all of my positions I've experienced the power of team. And I know that there's a million things on YouTube and online that you can talk about team building, and I get it. But when you really experience the power of a team that's aligned for a single purpose and how they support each other, it's not only powerful in terms of reaching the goal, but it feels good. It's not just about me, it's about us. So I would say they're my four values.
Another thing I noted down, one of your core values or something is innovation.
Yeah.
Innovating. What means innovation for you?
Innovation means looking at things differently. So if I walk on the same path that everybody else is walking on, then I'm sure to get the result that everybody else is getting. So someone has to be the first to break ground, to create, and that's, to me, this is about creating competitive advantage. Yeah. The way my brain works is I'm always looking for these advantages, in whether it's the way we do things, whether it's our structure or our process or our tactics or the way we do things physically. I think that when you look in history, a lot of performances started with something that was actually that people laughed at. So it's getting there before anyone else does. I think, and that's the way I am as well. But I also see that it's part of the performance of enhancing the possibilities to perform. I have an example which is probably the latest and the nicest example for me is that in my last function in Australia as a technical director for the beach volleyball national team, we acknowledge that volleyball in Australia is not a very big sport, and so said, well, how can we do it differently? So not competing against the countries that have a lot of players, but competing in the way we do things. And so we made a decision to change the way we play the game, and that we called the on-2 game, or the no-block system, meaning that in volleyball you normally have a pass, a setup, and a smash. We said, what if we could turn the first pass into a setup? So it'd go pass and smash, and that would take time away from the blocker getting to the net to create a block. So we've already started that process, and we realized that it'll take time. We have to invest time into this process to create this because it's difficult to do. But in one moment in time, if everything works, that's our chance to win something at the right moment, whether it be an Olympic medal. And then everyone else will follow us, and the advantage will be closed again. So, and that thing about innovation, you have to, I link it to that fear of failure. If you're not afraid to fall on your face, then that gives you the freedom to try to be innovative. So that's I do value innovation, and and I'm always looking for how we can do things in a way that gives us an advantage.
Cool. Which person has influenced and impacted you most as a coach, and why?
Good question. I had to think about this for a while, because actually I don't know why, but I haven't really found that trigger as an adult. But the most impactful person for me was actually my uncle. Not that I knew him very well at all, but he was a basketball player. And he played in the 1972 Olympic Games and the 1976 Olympic Games. And he was, he's one of the top scorers. In fact, he held the world record for the most points scored in a match. I think it was in Montreal. So in Montreal in 1976, I was 3 years old. I wasn't there. He was there. We had a black and white TV, and the black and white TV was about 20 centimeters by 20 centimeters. I'm 3 years old, and it's my earliest memory is when my mother, who is my uncle's sister, says, "Hey, that's your uncle on TV." And I just looked there. I said, "That's my uncle on TV," and that was done. I was done. I was hooked for life. I must go to the Olympics. And then I was hooked on basketball. So I was just, I was sleeping with my basketball. I was going to school with my basketball. I was shooting all day basketball, and it was done for me. That shaped the whole rest of my life. And while we're having this discussion now, was because of that one moment, not because of the man that I met. Just some moment of link. That's my family. That's my uncle. I'm proud. I'm going to be that. And as it turned out, I didn't get to the Olympics as a player, but actually I ended up in 2012 taking a moment to reflect that you're actually part of the Olympic team now. Yeah. You're a coach, but still, you did it. Yeah. So after 40 years, whatever it was, so yeah, that very powerful moment. And since that time, I believe in the power of heroes and role models and the effect that they can have on a sport. Yeah, and so that's why we do what we do. We try to perform so we can trigger the people to become heroes and play sport. Yeah. That's what it's all about, and that's what the impact means is use your performance to inspire people to play.
How do you manage a team?
How do I manage a team? Firstly, is there a team? Because if there's no team, then you're managing individuals. That is a lot more difficult than managing a group of people that are a team. Okay, and a team means often that you share the same purpose. So that some of the first things that I will do in an organization is get alignment or share purpose. We call it vision as well. Create a vision that everybody shares. That makes management is not a word I like to use, but that makes managing that much easier. Yeah. So the first thing is alignment. Create alignment, which is purpose or vision. Then you have a team, and that to me is the foundation. The rest from there on, the rest is peripheral.
Interesting. The next follow-up question is, in teams very often you have, and I know you touched on that before, but I want to dig a bit deeper into that. If you're working at a high level, you have team expectations, but also individual expectations of the athlete, right? And they are not always aligned. In these circumstances, what do you do to align them?
Yeah, that's a good question. And do you know sometimes they can't be aligned. And that's when it gets difficult. That's when people have to start making choices. Because that lack of alignment, if this group of people have a completely different purpose or a different goal than this group, it could be staff and players or it could be players within the group, then it's almost not workable. So firstly, I'll do everything to make sure that everyone's on the same page. how do I manage when the expectations are different? I haven't come across that situation yet.
Okay.
It's normally get everyone on the same page, and I've been lucky enough to people working in this environment want to become as good as they can be. Often it is about winning a medal or a gold medal, and so normally the alignment has been quite easy to find, and I'm not looking forward to the situation where you reach a stalemate, where actually within a group there's a standoff between different stakeholders or people within the team. But I will say that the success of creating that alignment, when you give it over to the people to create it, you have a much better chance of them finding common ground. I don't have to get everyone to share everything, but I have to find some piece somewhere that is common ground. And that might only be a small piece. And if it's only a small piece, that's where we're going to focus on. And the rest we just accept. But without that small piece, I don't believe it's possible.
Shared ownership.
Yeah, ownership is that's everything. That's giving. I believe that that freedom to so if we're talking about managing a team, creating a structure where the people inside of this have the freedom to make their own decisions and take ownership of their own decisions, but within at least a structure. And the other thing you have is micromanagement. Micromanagement is because I don't have a structure or a system. So let us build the structure and the system, and then you go for it. Go for it. So and because that feeling of autonomy or ownership is without that, I don't think people can reach their best level of performance.
Yeah. Has being an athlete helped you as a coach? Not really. In one way, yes. Is that I think when I'm making decisions, I think through the eyes of what an athlete needs or an athlete wants. I in that way, yes. But as an athlete myself, I was probably, as an athlete, probably the worst version of myself. Meaning that I was so driven to win that I didn't really care too much about other people. And so that's where there was just a big empathy hole. And I think that as an athlete, it's a struggle. You just want to crush your opponents, and crush them at all costs. So that was me as an athlete, and I don't think that approach would help me as a manager. But think through the eyes of an athlete, to look through the eyes of an athlete, about what's needed in the training environment, that does definitely help me. What is your view on motivation, if we discuss motivation versus discipline? Very open question. Just give me your thoughts.
Well, the easiest way to increase motivation is to get rid of all the people that are not motivated. Then you automatically have a high motivation. I read that quote somewhere.
It's a quote?
I came across it somewhere, is that the best way to increase it is get rid of those that are unmotivated. No, but actually the thing is that we have to be careful here, because I've come across several times situations where there are highly motivated people that don't actually know what they need to do to get to their goal. Yeah, and so that means that I think that discipline, if you don't know what you need, it can appear to be that you don't have any discipline because you just don't know. Do I need to be there at training starts at 8 o'clock, so I'll be there at 8 o'clock. But actually, everyone else is preparing their bodies at 7:30 or 7:45 or whatever they're doing. They're getting the water, they're getting their stuff ready, they're getting ready to practice. If I don't really know what I need to do, I'm highly motivated, but I don't know what I need to do, it looks like I lack discipline. And I think that's our responsibility as a program, is to be able to say, okay, this is what it looks like. This is the cost. You have this goal, you have the motivation, but there's a cost. And the cost is the way you do things or the way you behave, the way you organize yourself. Discipline, the way you eat. Discipline, the way you take care of your body. How much sleep do you get? If you don't know about those things, you can be highly motivated and not do them. And then the coach says that you lack discipline. But I think that give them the knowledge first. If they have the knowledge and the motivation, and then they don't do it, then they don't have the discipline. But not before getting the knowledge.
How do you choose your support staff? What are the qualities you want to see in your support staff?
Choosing your support staff is a luxury. I've never had a situation yet, and I guess I'm a relatively young or new technical director, is that normally you arrive and you inherit performance staff. They're already there. Okay, so you don't normally have that luxury. But what's important for me is that the performance staff share the purpose. They share the vision and the purpose. That they feel accountable for the athletes. That's. I have seen situations where there are support staff that are linked to several programs, and so in fact, if the team wins or doesn't win, especially when they don't win, that support staff actually has other programs to say, oh, well, I'm successful in this program, and they don't really feel ownership over the program that's not winning. I need full ownership, accountability for the performances, meaning if that athlete's injured, we need you to get that athlete back. And that support staff, whether it's a physio or a doctor or a massage or a dietitian or performance behavior specialist, it's not our problem as the federation. It's also the support staff's problem. Get this person to their highest level. That's very different to having a job. High performance is not a job. Anyone that's in high performance, that's doing it for a job, it doesn't survive. It's you're in it. You've got skin in the game, and that's the once I can see that the support staff has that, I know we're in the right place. If they don't have that, then it's difficult, and then sometimes you need to make choices. But share our purpose, have skin in the game, be accountable, and it's not a job.
No. Okay.
And I wish I could choose them, but actually it never happened that way yet.
Not yet.
Normally you
Not
arrive
yet.
and you have them, and that's fine. But I've been very lucky because I've worked with some very good performance staff. So I've inherited some very good performance staff. So.
How does a typical day in the life of a technical director look like?
Running around and round and round and round and round and round. That's just it's basically in this situation now. It's about setting up structure. There's still a lot of organisations that don't fully understand what you need in terms of structure to run a high performance program. But it's mostly it's managing expectations. And that means communicating, because I think the biggest risk is when people get surprised by things that they didn't know were coming. So I'd personally want to try to keep in contact with as many people as possible throughout the whole organization, not just in the top sport program, but also in the opleiding and the breed sport, is trying to actually trying to share the vision on a daily basis with everybody, to align everybody, because we need to have a successful system. We need the high performance program, or the top sport program, to have some influence on the breed sport program and the opleiding. It's actually it's a cycle. We're all related, and so that model of we are the top sport program, we are here, and we have nothing to do with the recreational sport or the breed sport is a lost chance. Because if we talk about inspiring or having impact, actually we need to be, as the top sport program, we need to be more often visible in the breed sport level, which means we need to go back to the clubs more often and say, here we are. They're the heroes. Here we are, to inspire the kids to play badminton or to play whatever sport it is. So it's in that respect, it's quite a lot to do, to be honest. But that's okay. I like staying busy.
Okay.
So.
And one bonus question, because you touched on it. How do you manage expectations?
How do you manage it? Yeah, through expectation management. No, but it's normally about getting things. Yeah, it's a process, but it's normally making sure that. So you have to look ahead. Yeah, because that's where the surprise for people lies in the future. So you have to see into the future of what's coming, and then go back and then sow the seed about, hey, what might be coming. Might be coming. And then it's probably coming. It is coming. That's very different than, I don't know anything, here's the change, and there's the expectation gap. So if you see something in the future that looks to be quite different for the staff or the players, you need to start that process well in advance to slowly decrease that gap. So it's about looking into the future, bringing the change or that thing back to the staff or the players, and getting them to have time to think about it. Especially in Holland, if you surprise someone here, that's something that, in my experience, doesn't go down very well. So do it well in advance in terms of managing expectation. Get to that thing as early in the process as possible. And that's hard because you have to look into the future, and sometimes it's hard to see the future. So,
okay. One more bonus question,
bonus
and then
question,
I'll let you off the hook, because you were talking about the future, looking into the future, and that is out of personal interest. What do you see in the future, the impact of digitalization on the top sport? I get the feeling very often we sit a little bit in a bubble where we think like, oh, we can't be replaced. But if you look at other industries and how digitalization has caught on these industries, how do you see the impact on the sport world in the future? Will there be an impact, no impact, whatever? Very open question. And you like to innovate. So
the thing is, we're talking about data.
It's coming a little bit here, otherwise you're out of the video.
We're talking. It was a difficult question, so I'm trying to get out of the video.
Zooming out.
So we're talking about digitalization. That's basically, in my world anyway, and whether it's right or wrong, is collecting data for a start. Is it at the moment? Not at the moment, but even in the last years, everyone's been busy collecting data. Yeah, and I've gone through this process of, well, data. Let's collect data. How do you feel? How many jumps did you do? How far did you run? And everyone's collecting the data. People there's a lot of people busy doing this, and they spend a lot of time doing it. And I haven't really seen in the positions that I've been in that the information that came out of the data that gave us a competitive advantage. So I said the return on the investment of the time we spent collecting data, we didn't get the results out of it. Yeah, but now we're talking about algorithms that can actually interpret the data and see patterns in the data. Because I'm more interested in the advantage comes in, I've got all of these numbers. What's the pattern? So for example, if we can pull out of these numbers and say, every time I serve the ball, or the shuttle, let's talk about shuttle, not volleyball. Every time I serve the shuttle short to the left side of my opponent, let's just say I've analysed 10 of their matches, there's a 40% chance that I'll get this return. That to me is useful. Okay, if I serve high, deep left, on 40% or 50%, I'll get this response. I can actually use that to win. You know, that's what I find interesting, is how you can find an advantage in the numbers. I guess otherwise, if there's a way that we can condition athletes by interpreting data, so we're collecting all the data, interpret it, put it through an algorithm, and then we say, oh, hang on a minute, if it's better to train 6 times in a day for 30 minutes, you know, and only do that 3 times a week, than it is to train 5 times a week for 2 hours. Mm-hmm. So this is what I find interesting. But the collection of data itself, without extracting these conclusions, I've seen a lot of time wasted in doing this. I also question if it's possible to use a one-size-fits-all approach, meaning that you collect data in one system. Is one system able to cater for the needs of all different types of sports? I don't know. I think that's possibly something that's just that might be too big. You maybe need to do a more customized approach, but that hasn't seemed to work either. So,
Okay.
But I love the idea of finding advantage through either data or technology or innovation, and materials. I think it's fascinating. So I hope that answered your question.
In a way, for sure.
In a way.
I guess it's a difficult question to answer, and especially if you're looking into the future, it's difficult to answer anyway. So
we're struggling to just get people on to tournaments. So to think about investing in digitalization, for example, for us is for badminton is a bit far fetched. So
okay. Cool. Do you want to nominate someone to be interviewed?
Do I want to nominate someone to be interviewed? Coach or a player or
whatever you think?
Although I will nominate Reinder Numador, but you have to find him. And the reason I nominate him is because he's been a very high level player and he's now a coach. And I think that would be a very interesting discussion, but then you'll have to go to Zwolle or Den Haag to find him.
Well, people have been nominated from the other end of the globe, so just going across that small country is not a big, not a big deal.
Classic. Thanks.
Awesome.